I'm continuing my series of MASH retro reviews with Season 2, Episode 5, Dr. Pearson, Mr. Hyde. So in this episode, Hawkeye goes crazy. And he goes crazy. In all honesty, he probably should have been sent home after the what he gets up to. He's also sleep deprived in this episode, but it's because they get non-stop casualties, and he's not sleeping. Yeah, he's still performing surgery pretty well, but because of the lack of sleep, he goes crazy, and given what we know later on, maybe indicating some underlying craziness, but yeah, he's sleep deprived, overworked, tired, and just not sleeping for days straight. To the point where even Frank is recognizing that Hawkeye is, not in a state to operate. Yet, he's still operating successfully. I think that just shows how good of a doctor Hawkeye is. But really, it gets to the point where pretty much everyone in the camp is like, something needs to be done with Hawkeye because he needs to, at the very least, go to bed. And finally, Trapper and Radar successfully drug Hawkeye with something to sleep him. They sedate him, basically. They first tried to inject him with some type of sedation medicine. They accidentally get Frank. Of course they do. And eventually they spike a martini, and that's what gets Hawkeye to finally knock out. Though it takes some time. He's able to, in that time, successfully get a Jeep, actually an ambulance, get some chains, and hook up to the train to take it to North Korea. Yeah, that's what Hawkeye is doing. And you know why? Because in his sleep-deprived state, Frank's bad explanation of why the Korean War started leads Hawkeye to believe that if he just gives North Koreans a latrine, that's going to end the war. The war is a lot more complicated than that. Really, it was a lot more complicated. I'm not going to get into here, but I might do that as a later video. But yeah, Frank made a bad explanation. He tried to walk it back, but he should have recognized that Hawkeye was not in the right state to understand that he was being figurative and giving a bad explanation. But yeah, so because of Frank, Hawkeye decides the easiest way to end the war is to give the North Koreans a latrine. Oh, by the way, the General Clayton, is in the latrine when Hawkeye is taking it away. Thankfully, Hawkeye only gets like 500 meters before the sleeping pills kick in. Don't get long enough. And the episode ends with Hawkeye sleeping, and then Trapper playing some solitaire, and Colonel Blake's also there as well. And basically, they're like, what are we going to do with him? The ending punchline is that they all had some kind of sense. They were get on the first latrine nowadays. So that's a joke, but I mean that is actually works within the episode, because that ending joke, when Henry says, if we were in the right mind, we would all get on the first latrine now to fill, does make sense given the context of the episode. But it does underline something maybe a little more important, that in order to survive and be in the war environment, you kind of have to be just a little bit crazy, because no sane person would stay in such a condition, basically. So that's what that ending joke kind of says. It's kind of weird, but kind of makes sense as well. And honestly, there's another episode later on in MASH where Hawkeye is again sleep deprived, but they bring in Dr. Friedman, Sydney, and so that way they're able to help him through that. Kind of wish we could get Sydney again in this episode. He was in a previous episode already, evaluating Klingo, and it would be great to see him again, because this would have been a good video to bring in an actual psychologist. But alas, they didn't do that for the story, and for this story, it didn't really make sense. But when you think about it, this episode is touching on some harder-hitting stuff that will become more prevalent later on. Characters, doing crazy antics because of slightly going crazy. Characters, trying to end the war. There's another episode where Hawkeye tries to end the war too. So I kind of like that episode a little better, because I feel like Hawkeye's reasoning and all that is more grounded in the sense of he has a breaking point with the war itself. Here it's portrayed more as a effect of being sleep deprived. So some of the later breaks for him with trying to and sick of the war and wanting to end of it make a little more sense in my opinion. But this is still a pretty good episode and does touch on some more serious topics while still having some humor. In fact, speaking of humor, I already mentioned the ending joke, and there's some other jokes as well, but some of the lines that would have had a laugh track in other episodes, I don't think I heard a laugh track unless I accidentally turned it off. But like, I know there was multiple lines where people are telling Hawkeye go to bed, and he basically says you too. Basically, the idea that they wanted to go in bed with him. But to my knowledge, there was not a single laugh track, and I feel like that's something that the studio executives and the network executives would have demanded. So somehow they were able to, for some of those lines, not include a laugh track, which is quite interesting. And I think it's hinting that they wanted this episode to be a little more serious than some of the other episodes. But those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the force be with you always.